Pensions, let's talk about them. I have clients who are baby boomer or silent generation, and I have younger clients. And among my baby boomer silent generation clients, probably just under 50%, 50% have pensions. And this is a pension that they may have earned many years ago or from a pension several jobs ago. They can be anywhere from a few $100 a month to several $1,000s a month, but they do tend to have access to pensions, or about half of them have access to pensions. I had to look it up, but 14% of Gen Xers have access to pensions. So simply the generational divide between baby boomers and Gen X, there was a big fall off of the pensions, and this was due to the rise of the 401k that occurred in the 70s. And I have a video about why the 401k was created and why I don't think it's the most efficient means to save for retirement. But pensions. So I wanted to do a video on pensions to talk about what you should do if you are currently employed with your pension. So stay with me. First things first, I would ask a person if they tell me that they have a pension, I would ask them if they could get me a statement from the pension, because that tells me a lot. Oftentimes companies send out a statement quarterly or maybe annually about their pension. If they are compliant with IRS regulations, they have to send out a statement about the pension at least annually. Sometimes that just doesn't occur. Sometimes you have to call into HR or another part of the organization to get access to a statement about your pension. But if your company has a pension and if you are vested in that pension, you have a right to have information about that pension, its health, and how it is doing. The second thing I would ask after getting a statement of the pension is, does your pension allow for naming a beneficiary during the accumulation phase? The concern I have is if someone dies, what happens to all that pension money? They should allow you to name a beneficiary or a person who would receive a cash sum payout or benefits if you were to decease. A lot of people don't realize that and may not go through that extra step of naming a beneficiary if it is possible. If you do have a pension and if they do allow for the naming of beneficiaries, please do that right away. You'd be shocked how many people forget that step or don't know that that step exists. So the second thing I would ask while you are still working and you have access to the pension is, how healthy is your company and how healthy is the pension system in your company? Has the pension system dramatically changed in the time that you were working there? Let's say you've been with the company for 15 years and when you started there was this whole pension setup, but for new employees, they're not allowed to participate in the pension, or the pension is closed. That's a flag that there may be more going on with that pension. A lot of companies have worked to actively close down their pensions, so it's not that unusual. But sometimes it is a statement of the health of the overall pension that the pension is not taking on new employees. Also, every company, irrespective of their status, has to file a document with the IRS annually with the financials and information about the pension. It's Form 5500, and I've worked with some pension programs to file that form. But basically, that is the form so that the IRS can keep tabs on what the company is doing with the pension money and how the pension is solvent, or if the pension is insolvent, the IRS needs to be notified. So if your company has dramatically changed benefits, it should be a sign. If your company is filing Form 5500, you may be able to go on FOIA or a government site and find that document yourself, but it's good to keep tabs on your pension, what it's doing, and the general overall health of the company and the pension system. Another sign, has your company changed owners? Has it been bought or acquired? Typically in moments when a company is changing owners or a company is bought or acquired, there is a second look given at the pension. And I've seen pensions dissolve when a company has been acquired or a company has been bought out. And so if your company has been recently or not so recently bought, acquired, or changed, you really need to have a second look at your pension to see, A, is the pension still in existence? And B, what are the provisions of the pension? Did that change with the new owners? Companies change hands a lot nowadays. While you're working for a company, it may change hands multiple times. You really need to be acutely aware if and when those changes in ownership affect your pension. How many years of service do you need for benefits? A lot of people who do have access to pensions are often very fuzzy on their provisions. They're like, well, I think 5 or 10 or maybe it's 15 or 20. You need to know the details of exactly how many years of service and how years of service are counted. For example, I have a client that had to go to part-time employment because they were taking care of a sick relative. Does that count as a full year towards pension qualification, or does that count for a partial year of pension provision? I've had situations where retirement dates were really, really very important. You had to stay there, 30 years and 1 day to get that 30-year mark on your pension. And if you retire after only 30 years and no days, your pension was docked down. So you really want to know the provisions of your pension, what you need to qualify, what you need to stay qualified. I have other clients who have left the job and then come back. And does the clock start all over again, or does it pick up where it left off? You need to know what those provisions are in your pension. Is healthcare a benefit of retirement of pension? And this is huge because healthcare becomes very expensive the older you get. There's COBRA, which is often very expensive, or the Obamacare exchange, depending on the state that you live in. But those things can be very pricey. There are some organizations that will cover healthcare for retirees until that person reaches the age of 65 and can get on Medicare. It's becoming increasingly rare. But if it is indeed a benefit, you need to look into it, understand how many years of service you need to activate that provision. Sometimes you need to be in the system for 20 years before that healthcare provision kick in. Sometimes it may kick in at 5 years. But you need to understand whether healthcare is or isn't a provision for you in terms of your pension system. Oh, this one's huge. And I've seen this one mess people up really badly if they don't know about this. But there's something with pensions, okay? And it has to do with when pensions and Social Security was created. The question I would ask is, does your pension integrate with Social Security? And if your pension integrates with Social Security, essentially if you are due any Social Security benefits, they will take down those Social Security benefits in the amount of your pension. This is often a huge, huge, huge shock to people who don't know that this provision exists, but it does. It only occurs in certain states, in certain state systems. And you need to ask yourself if your state system integrates with Social Security. It's a nasty surprise if it does. If it doesn't integrate with Social Security, it means you can collect your pension and collect full Social Security. But you have to pay into the pension system, and you also have to pay the Social Security tax for at least 10 years in order to qualify for Social Security. But this is huge. You need to learn sooner rather than later whether your pension integrates with Social Security or not. Next is following media about your pensions. Occasionally you'll see something that comes across the news or on the internet about a pension system that is running into difficulty. And if your pension system is in duress or undergoing difficulty, you want to be among the first to know. And so I tell people who have pensions that they should regularly be basically clocking their pension system to see if there's any news in the media coming out reporting that the pension system is in trouble. Pensions do fail. Pensions do fail. And I've had a client in an unfortunate situation like that where a pension went into failure. There is a system, which I'm not going to go into, to protect pensions against failure, but it's not a perfect system, and the person may not end up recouping their full pension amount. But people think pensions are rock solid and never do fail or run into distress, but they do fail and they do run into distress. And if your pension is distressed, you want to know immediately. You can request statement of benefits. A lot of people don't realize this. Pensions are supposed to send out regularly statement of benefits. Sometimes it doesn't happen. You can request from your HR or from payroll or from some other entity in your organization a statement of benefits. Even if you're a past employee, you request a statement of benefits. It's really important to receive these at least annually and keep track of them. And let me explain why. I have had clients who were in pension systems, and their statement of benefits were wrong. They were missing a year, right? They were missing a year. And so fortunately, that person was able to provide documentation that they were indeed employed for that year and get their statement of benefit updated. But sometimes statement of benefits are wrong. Sometimes they're wrong. And sometimes the dates are wrong, sometimes the months are wrong, sometimes the years are wrong. And this could have big implications for your pension. And if there is a problem with your pension statement or the documentation behind your pension, you want to catch that immediately and fix it. You don't want to catch it 20 years up the road and fix it, because by then you've gotten rid of all the documentation and it's impossible to prove. So if you have a pension, and I suggest doing this for Social Security as well, because Social Security does make mistakes, you check those statements on an annual basis, make sure the information is accurate and up to date. And if there's any discrepancies in the information, you go to the company immediately and you get that fixed. Next, tell your advisor that you have a pension and talk through your options. I've done retirement plans for people we've worked together for years, and 6 years into the relationship, I find out they have a pension. And they forgot about the pension. They didn't think it was that important. They were going to talk about it immediately. They didn't know enough about the pension. If you have a pension, even if you don't know the details, which is the amount, you don't have a statement or this or that, be sure to tell your accountant or financial advisor, accountant and financial advisor, that you have a pension. There are often some very important options with pensions that we need to discuss and need to know well in advance. Don't wait until last minute, 5 minutes before retirement, to bring up a pension, because often by that time it's too late. This is a huge one. You still need to save in your 401k, 403b, or 457 plan for retirement, even if you have a pension. Reason being, to go back a point that I made before, pensions do fail. And if you're on the eve of retirement and your pension falls into distress and you've never done any savings in a 401k, 457, or 403b plan, you are cooked. Okay. Also, pensions pay out a certain sum of money monthly, right? It doesn't handle those emergencies where you need large sums of cash. Let's say the roof goes and you need $40,000 to repair it. You can't get an advance on your pension to repair that roof. You're going to need savings, or you're going to need access to the 401k, 403b, 457 plan. So even for my clients that have very generous, very rich pension systems, I suggest they do save in addition to their retirement plan, to make sure that they have a pool of cash that they can rely on in case things go sideways in their lives. So there you have it. If you're working, what you should be doing with your pension. If you have any questions, if you have any thoughts, leave them in the comment section. And please like, please share, and please subscribe.